Hi guys, my name is Oscar Jones. I'm a lifelong Alaskan and a student in this UAS Geography Seminar course. I focus mainly on the materials of the pipeline, and I'm going to go ahead and show you guys why the pipeline is relevant to me and also some of the fun and interesting pins that I got to create along the way. So with that, I'm going to share my screen with you guys and we will be rocking and rolling. So I'm going to let my dad speak first here.
Good. Hey, I'm Bobby Jones. I'm Oscar's dad. And it must have been 15 years or so ago. I worked up on the pipeline for a couple summers. I worked for GCI as an engineer, where our project was back in the day, GCI installed fiber optic lines up the pipeline, and every river crossing that there was, they ran 3-inch conduit, PVC pipe pretty much, or ABS pipe under and anchored to the bottom of the rivers to run the cables. They sealed it up the best they could, but over time, water got into the chase, froze during the wintertime. We would pinch the fiber optic cable and shut off service and connection up to the slope. So I worked for a guy who came up with an invention, which was a way to create an organic wax that wouldn't have any impact on the environment. And we would heat up to a certain temperature, a certain viscosity, a certain temperature, put it at a certain amount of pressure to push against the head pressure of the cold water that was infiltrating the ABS pipe. We would push the water out with that wax. And at the very end of the chase of ABS pipe, the wax would cool just perfectly and come to a stop and make a plug, preventing the cold water from pinching off the fiber optic lines. It was a little trickier than it looks. The math was pretty simple. We just had to figure out the volume of the chase that we were trying to push the water out, temperature of the water, do a few calculations. We could figure out what kind of pressure and temperature we needed to put the wax under. Probably my favorite story about the whole project was that Doyon, the corporation up north there, they were so passionate about protecting the land. The company I worked for was so passionate about protecting the land. We left no stone unturned. In fact, every time we got to a river crossing, the first thing I did is I had the 30-person crew take a break for a day while we took photographs and drew out every single rock, stone, bush, anything that there was around where we would be digging or disturbing the soil. We would take care of it. We would go in there and then tear everything up, pump the wax in the line, and then at the end of the day, the crew would head off to the next river crossing, and there'd be a crew of us putting literally every rock, stone, bush, twig, anything that was in the original picture back to the exact same place. That all had to be approved by Doyon, had to be approved by GCI, DC, so lots of people involved with it. And it just goes to show that people on the slope are a lot of companies out there are doing the right thing, protecting the land and doing the best they can. So that's my story. That's what I know. Peace out.
So that's my dad and a little bit on why it's important to me personally. And with that, I'm going to dive into a little bit of these pins for you guys. So one of the first pins I'd like to show you is the basic original maps from the Trans-Alaskan Pipeline. So this guy has triangles representing camp locations, so all along the pipeline, and then the squares are numbered and they're the pump stations that went into the pipeline. So pretty rudimentary map, and obviously don't quite have the same technologies we do now, but I thought that was pretty neat that this was built with this sort of mapping ability at the time. Another really interesting thing to me is the amount of environmental protection that did go on during the development of this pipeline. Things you don't necessarily think about. Usually a pipeline is thought of as a big metal pipe, and that's pretty much it. There's a lot more that goes into it. So this is a piece of permafrost protection. What it's doing is it's protecting the frozen ground below the pipeline from the 140-degree oil in the pipeline. And what that's doing is it's constantly cooling the soil to avoid the ecological problems that occur if you start to lose the permafrost and let it melt. That also causes structural problems for the pipeline itself. With that, there's also 579 animal crossings within the pipeline. So that's pretty amazing, allowing the travel and the passage of migrating animals such as caribou and bears and moose and wolves and other large critters. Another thing that's not often thought about all too much as far as pipeline development goes is gravel. but they used a whopping 73 million cubic yards of gravel. So not the most glorious picture for this pin, but pretty amazing numbers, and really, really crazy to think that that had to be moved through such an isolated area. But it was used in all the development needed for the foundation of everything that was going on. And to get the oil down the pipeline, there's a few things people don't usually know about, and those are oil pigs. And this guy, the one pictured, is a pretty basic oil pig, and it's essentially scraping the pipe clean of any clogs or anything like that, and just moving freely with the flow of the oil. What would follow this down the pipeline, all the way from Prudhoe Bay to Valdez, the whole distance, is a smart pig, which has instruments on it that measure the thickness of the metal, any sort of erosion or corrosion of the metal that's going on, and the speed, the temperature of the oil, all those sort of things. And then something that's neat that you don't usually get to see when you're doing a project like this is all the materials were from relatively the same time because they were built all at once. But a relatively new asset acquired by the Alyeska Pipeline Company is this robotic pipeline pig. And so what that's doing is it's under control, and it can go through areas that a traditional pig can't. And that's essentially anything with a harsh angle or anything that moves vertically or needs to move slower than the rate of the oil that's moving down the pipeline. And so this can be used to inspect certain problems or inspect areas that maybe wouldn't get a routine look through with a normal oil pig. And that's from a Russian company called Dicont. So that was a pretty neat one to learn about. And then we'll jump back here. And from there, I'd just like to let you guys see that there's pins for the different material or fuels made from the crude oil that's pumped down the pipeline. And additionally, there's the refineries here that are within Alaska and kind of show what they're making and what sort of volume they can crank out. So with that, I will bid you guys adieu, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of this seminar tour, and have a good one.